Hello my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Nick Saraf's Food Law. So here's another story. We're doing today a Christmas special once again, and that is mulled wine. For making mulled wine, we need a bottle of red wine. I'm going to put this red wine in a saucepan and keep it over medium to low heat. To this, I will add brown sugar to my taste, and now I'm going to add some sliced tangerine. Now to this, I'm going to add cinnamon sticks, some powdered nutmeg, 3 cloves, and 2 bay leaves. With a whisk, slightly whisk it just to let everything submerge in the wine and let the brown sugar and nutmeg mix a bit, so not overtly whisking. And now we leave it aside and let it come to a gradual boil. So I'm going to take the tangerine slices out of the wine and reserve them, because why waste good fruit? So mulled wine is a very popular beverage across Europe and America and Australia, and in cold countries they have it warm, so it heats them up in the winters, and in hot countries like Australia, where they have summer during Christmas, they have chilled mulled wine. So you can have it either way depending on what you like. And of course you can add some more spices to it, like cardamom and so on, if you wish. And it's a beverage you can enjoy with a meal or just as a refreshment. But it's best consumed within 2 days of making it. Now that the wine has come to a boil, let's take it off the heat and strain it into a glass container. And now that the wine is slightly cooled down, let's pour it in our glasses. For that, putting half a veg of tangerine in and pouring the wine over that. So cuddle up with a loved one and a glass of chilled or warm mulled wine. Have a Merry Christmas. Cheers! Spatula.
My darling.
You scared me.
Haven't you realised it's Christmas already?
This place is such a mess. I don't have any decorations. I haven't even thought what I'm going to be making. What am I going to do? Thank you. But don't you think this is a bit too much? That's much better. Well, hello my lords, ladies and gentlemen. 'Tis the season to be jolly, la 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 la. And a special thanks to Aunt Agatha for providing me with this wonderful Christmas spirit. As a special token of my gratitude to Aunt Agatha, I'm going to be making her favorite gingerbread biscuits, synonymous with Christmas nearly all over the world. So, let's begin.
Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas!
So now we will add 125 grams of butter. To this, I'm going to add 175 grams of brown sugar. Here we go. We whisk it together. When the sugar and the butter have creamed properly, we add 1 egg. and make sure you don't add the shell. So glad she isn't here to watch this. Now we mix this together. When this is thoroughly mixed, we add 4 tablespoons of golden syrup. Or you can add molasses or honey, same outcome. And now we whisk all of this together. Now we set this bowl aside and bring on the bowl with the flour. Now this has about 350 grams of flour, to which I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Let's give it a light mix with our fingers. Now set this aside, bring back our bowl with the wet ingredients, and with the help of a sieve, sieve in the whole mixture. And now let's bring all of this together to form a firm dough. When the dough comes together, but is still a bit crumbly, we add in about 1 to 2 tablespoons or teaspoons, depending on how moist your dough is, of milk, and then just bring everything together once more. When the dough comes together, you wrap it in some plastic and chill it for about 30 minutes. Into the fridge it goes. Now that half an hour is done, we can roll out the dough and cut with these little biscuit cutters that I have, all Christmassy. Gingerbread men, stars, snowflakes, even a reindeer. Fancy that. So let's start with just taking half the dough first and reserve the rest. On my silicone mat, you put some flour for dusting, some on top of the dough, and then roll. Don't be afraid if there are cracks on the dough. That's just how gingerbread biscuit dough is. When the appropriate thickness has been achieved, trim off the sides, not too much though, just the amount that is going off the silpat mat. There we go. Doesn't have to be a precise shape, because we're going to lose a lot more dough now when we cut the biscuits with the biscuit cutters. And now let's cut out the biscuits with the biscuit cutters. Make sure when you cut out shapes in the biscuit dough that you leave space between 2 shapes. Otherwise, when they expand just a bit in the oven, they will touch each other, might break, might fuse together. Wouldn't be a pretty sight for the biscuits. Now we take off the excess dough very gently without disturbing the shape. So since my silpat mat is slightly bigger than the baking tray, I'm going to put this on an upturned baking tray so that they're not bent on the sides. And now we'll put this in the oven at 180 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. And now let's repeat that with the second silpat mat. By the way, the oven was preheated. Just so you know. Now that all the biscuit batches are baked and cooked, it is time to make the royal icing that will go as a decoration on the biscuits. So for this, I have 2 egg whites, which I'm going to whip to stiff peaks. When we reach stiff peak, we sieve in about 350 grams of icing sugar. We give it a whisk and add the juice of half a lemon. And then immediately we must cover the royal icing with some plastic, but also make sure that the plastic touches the royal icing, or else it will crust over and be unusable. Now we take a piping bag and fill it up with about a spoonful of royal icing. Make the smallest incision at the tip of the piping bag, and we make designs on the biscuits.
Biscuits done, my dear?
Yes, they are. How do you like them?
Oh, they look lovely, thank you.
You're welcome, my dear aunt. So, Merry Christmas!
Sweets are an integral part of any festival. When it comes to Christmas, it's absolutely synonymous with a cake. Well, this is the Bombay chef Varun Inamdar, and today let's see a Christmas special plum cake. For this recipe today, I'm following a classic pound cake recipe. A pound cake has your butter, sugar, flour and eggs of the same proportion. First things first, soft butter goes in a large bowl. To this, I'm adding in sifted powdered sugar, and this mixture needs to be nicely creamed. Once this mixture starts getting shiny, I'll start adding in an egg at a time. Make sure after each addition, you cream this mixture well. Simultaneously, while beating the batter, make sure you're also turning the bowl around. Similarly, I'll add in all the eggs and beat this batter to a nice, smooth mixture. Your batter is halfway ready. Let's now move to the dry ingredients. For this, I need to take some refined flour. With this, some baking soda. Sieve these two ingredients together nicely. I'm next moving on to the soaked fruits. Well, I have some raisins here with me, which I have soaked in orange juice. I'm sieving all the liquid from the raisins and the black sultanas. This needs to be soaked at least overnight. I'm draining the liquid from both the fruits, and this now goes in the flour mix. Well, one of those major faults in the bakery world is when you make a cake, the fruits sit at the bottom. To avoid that, what we need to do is run these fruits into the mixture of flour and baking powder so they get nicely dispersed through the entire cake. Give this a nice toss. And with this, I'm also adding in another secret ingredient, which is candied peel. This peel is the peel of either sweet lime or oranges. This peel is candied in sugar syrup and dried under the sun. And next are some dried seedless plums, which are also known as prunes. The fruits are nicely coated with the flour. So this now goes straight in the wet mixture. Make sure we mix this batter nicely. To this batter, I'll also add in the reserved fruit juice, which I'd used as a soaking liquor. To add into the charm of Christmas celebrations, the most important ingredient to this is the spice mix. So let's begin with that. For this, in a grinder, I'm adding in some fennel seeds, star anise, black peppercorns, cloves, black cardamom, some green cardamom, cinnamon sticks, some nutmeg for its nice earthy flavor, and finally some blades of mace. Let's grind this into a fine and smooth powder. A tablespoon and a half of this spice mix goes into this batter, and now let's mix this nicely for the last time. Well, here I have a ring mold which I've lined with aluminium foil. Alternately, you can also use any mold of your choice. To this, I'm applying a little bit of oil, and this step technically is called greasing the mold. After oil, the next ingredient that I'm dredging is refined flour, because this would help in sliding the cake out after baking. I'm turning this ring around on all sides to make sure the flour is nicely dusted. And finally, I'm going to dab this out to remove the excess flour. I'm going to transfer this batter. With the back of a spoon, just even the entire top surface of the cake batter. This now goes in a preheated oven for 40 to 45 minutes. While the cake is getting baked, let's start making royal icing. Royal icing is a mixture of egg whites, icing sugar, and lemon juice. So first that goes in the bowl are egg whites. I'm going to start whisking this till it gets lightly foamy. Once this turns nice and foamy, I'll slowly start adding in the icing sugar. At this stage, I'll be introducing lemon juice. Because of the acids in lemon juice, the royal icing is going to turn snowy white. Let's continue the steps of whisking and introducing sugar simultaneously. The royal icing is nicely whipped and ready. Let's keep this covered under a damp cloth till it's ready to use. The next step is making the holly leaves and the berries. For that, I have some colored fondant here with me. Well, fondant is something which is made with icing sugar, glucose, and golden syrup. The recipe, the detailed recipe rather, is there in the description box below. So let's begin with making the leaves. I'm going to roll this into a very thin disc. It should be roughly a 1 mm thick disc. With the help of a leaf cutter, I'm just going to cut some leaves. Like so. Just dab a little bit of corn flour and continue cutting the leaves. Similarly, let's start making some more cutouts of the holly leaves. These leaves next go on this piece of sponge, and the sides or the edges need to be evened out. By doing this, the edges of the leaves get nicely curled and make them look as natural as original. After the holly leaves, let's move to the red fondant to make some berries. I'm going to roll this into a long cylinder and cut these at irregular intervals because berries could be of irregular sizes. Let's roll these up into tiny little balls. Throw in a little bit of corn flour and rest these till further use. The cake is baked and ready. Let's move it out of the oven. Allow this to rest till it has completely cooled down. The cake has cooled down completely. Let's start unmolding it. I'm going to run a sharp knife around the cake. Carefully remove the aluminium foil. Let's start frosting the cake with royal icing, holly leaves, and berries. I'm going to give this a quick mix and pick spoonfuls and drop it on the cake. Make sure with the help of a bent knife or a regular palette knife you frost the cake nicely and evenly. This could be as rough as possible. With the help of this palette knife, I'm just going to press the royal icing a little and make sure this rises into soft peaks. Next that goes on top of royal icing are some holly leaves. Finally, I'm going to take a little bit of water and just dab my palm. And on this, I'm going to place and roll a few of these berries. This is done for two purposes. One is to make it shine, and second is to create like an instant glue. Finally, I have re-kneaded a little bit of the fondant and I'm rolling this into a thin, long strip. Keep dabbing with a little bit of corn flour to make sure this does not stick, and keep rolling it long and thin. I'm going to place this aside and start rolling the red fondant similarly. I'm going to press this at one of the sides and start intertwining these by twisting it around. Rich, fruity, sweet, with a touch of spice. That's all I can think of when it comes to a good Christmas plum cake. Well, enjoy this with your family and friends, and here's wishing all of you across the globe Merry Christmas.
Hi everyone! Welcome to my recipe book with me, Tarika, where today I'm going to be making mashed potatoes. You know, I don't know anyone who doesn't like potatoes, and mashed potatoes in particular. But if you're someone who stayed away from eating mashed potatoes because of the oodles of butter in it, then you're going to love my recipe. I've got just 1 tablespoon of butter here that I've melted with 3 cloves of garlic that are just really finely minced. Don't let it brown, you just have to melt it and then quickly take it off the heat. I've got this pot of water heating here. I'm just gonna add salt to it. And simultaneously what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to start peeling the potatoes to add them to this hot water. I'm going to boil these potatoes and then mash them up. I've got about 500 grams of potatoes, so you want to get the skin off completely. Then you just want to cut this up. And here's the trick, you know, actually once you cut them up, these potatoes will boil much faster. So I'm just going to add these chopped up potatoes to the hot water and just continue doing this till I get all of the potatoes in. Okay, so you'll know that the potatoes are done when you can just stick a knife through it and it just goes through completely and breaks very easily. So these potatoes are done. It's time to drain them out of this starchy water. So quickly get them into this bowl. So we're moving very quickly now, and while the potatoes are still hot, just quickly mash them. So while these are mashed, I'm going to add the garlic and the butter that we had melted earlier on. Add this. This is the chopped up parsley. I'm saving some for garnish. The very classic French flavors, lots of garlic and parsley. And I've added the tablespoon of butter. If you're wondering what my cheat ingredient is going to be, it's some milk. This is what's going to give me that smooth consistency. Okay, now you want to add generous amounts of salt and pepper. So you can give it a taste right now to check the salt and pepper. It's still very hot. Could do with a bit more salt and some more pepper. Add some more milk. So I'm done mashing this and it's got a lovely silky texture that I just can't wait to plate up. But I'm gonna have to be really quick because mashed potatoes are best served hot. Garnish it with the parsley that we had set aside. So guys, these mashed potatoes have all the flavor of butter without being loaded with it. You've just got to try this recipe, also like it, share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel. See ya! Hi guys, welcome to my recipe book with me, Tarika. So a Christmas dinner for me is just incomplete without a good roast chicken. And the recipe that I'm going to share with you today is a recipe that my mom and I work on every year and it's super, super reliable. There's a special ingredient that we use to make this roast chicken and that's this Gondoraj, a lime that we get all the way from Calcutta. And we make it in a vintage rotisserie, one that is about 20 years older than me, so that's seriously vintage. Now there are a couple of components to putting this roast chicken together, but it's not something that's very complicated. Just break it down into 3 steps. I'm going to get started with the marinade first. So I've got some garlic that I've chopped up here. This is about 10 small cloves of garlic. This recipe is, very Indian in nature. It's got a lot of masala-ish flavors to it. So I'm just going to pop all of this into my tiny little mixie. So I've got about 2 inches of ginger and now I'm going to zest up the Gondoraj. This is just such a fragrant lime, right? And just adds so much flavor. I'm just going to zest it. So half of the zest I'm just going to pop into this mixer here. I'm going to put the rest of the zest into a separate bowl where I've got some chopped up celery. This is going to be the stuffing for the bird. There's not a lot of stuffing that goes into it because chicken tends to have a smaller cavity. But I just want to pack in as much flavor as I can. And speaking of flavor, once I've got the zest, I also want the juice of this Gondoraj. Now I'm going on about this Gondoraj, but if you can't find Gondoraj, just feel free to use regular lemon or lime, whatever you have available to you. I mean, I'm crazy enough to get people traveling from Calcutta to bring this for me. I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of sea salt, just 1 teaspoon of some ground pepper, and 1 teaspoon of chili powder. This is just to give it color, but the spice will come from the chili flakes. But I'm going to add only about half a teaspoon, not too much, because we've already got plenty of ginger and garlic in, and I don't want it to be too strong. We're nearly done. The last bit, just 2 tablespoons of olive oil. If you want to use another oil, canola, any neutral flavored oil also is fine. I just like olive oil, so that's what I tend to add. That should be good. So I'm just going to blend this marinade together in my mixie. But I have to tell you that if my mom was watching this right now, she would be very alarmed because she does this in a pestle and mortar very patiently. But patience is really not my virtue. So I'm just quickly going to blend this together. So it's a slightly chunky paste, and not a runny paste, but that's exactly what I want because it'll make it easier to rub it onto the chicken. So I'm just going to put that aside for now. Okay, now for the stuffing, you've seen me use the celery and add some gondaraj zest to it. I'm just going to add a little bit of chopped up onion. This is regular red onion. I'm just going to use about half an onion only, nothing more. And season it only very slightly with salt because there's plenty that's going to be on the outside. Very little. And a tiny pinch of pepper as well. Aren't you surprised I'm not using chili flakes here? Well, I've kind of learned that restraint is a good thing. Well, we'll see. So just toss this up. And that's it. You don't have to do much more. Just set it aside. So the marinade is done, the stuffing is done. I'm just going to bring the bird now. It's just been resting in my kitchen. I'm just going to quickly bring it here. So here's the bird that I'm going to be working with. This chicken is skinless because that's really how most Indians tend to eat chicken, without the skin, which is kind of good in a way, which means less fat. So I'm just going to start working with this now. And guys, there's just no non-messy way of doing this. You just have to get in, get your hands dirty and do this. There's a lot of hand washing involved, I should warn you. Before I kind of massage this marinade onto the chicken, I'm just going to make some cuts, some incisions really, just to make sure that the marinade makes its way inside the chicken and we get some really good flavor. Now, a good thing to remember here when you're making these incisions is that you want to move and make these incisions along the fiber, not against it, right? So just get a feel of it. We're creating pockets of flavor. Incision here. So now I'm just going to take this marinade and stuff it into these cavities that I've created here. Use the rest to just massage it onto the chicken. It looks a little messy right now, but it's just going to taste so yum. You're not going to regret going through all of this. So I don't usually leave the chicken to marinate for some time. This marinade is quite flavor packed and strong in flavors. So I just give it a little bit of time for it to rest while the rotisserie is preheating, and then I just put it in the rotisserie. Okay, I'm going to quickly dash off to wash my hands. You need to do that when you're making this. I'm going to wash my hands before I stuff the bird. Just lift this, and into the cavity will go this stuffing. And now I'm going to wash my hands again before I truss the bird. Now, trussing is just tying up the ends and making sure that the bird doesn't flay around the rotisserie when it's cooking. And I've got some kitchen string here. So what I first do is tie the legs up. And you just want to get it really tight. There's no perfect way of trussing it. It's just something you can watch how I'm doing it, but it's something that you will learn only when you try doing this yourself. And you've guessed it, when I'm done tying this up, I will rush to wash my hands and then preheat my rotisserie. There. That is done. Okay, so I'm back with this rotisserie rod and we're just in the final stages of putting this chicken in to cook. My rotisserie is preheating to 150 degrees Celsius. That's just a nice even temperature. It takes about 45 to 50 minutes to cook completely. So this is not very complicated at all. You can see here that on one end I've got this already screwed on. So I'm just going to put this through, and on the other end, just tightly screw this on. You definitely need to do this very tightly. That's it. So this is done and ready to go into my rotisserie for the next 45 to 50 minutes. I'm just going to go to my kitchen now. So I'm going to let the chicken cook at 150 degrees Celsius from anywhere between about 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Around the 40-minute mark is when I generally stick the meat thermometer deep into the chicken to check the internal temperature. And you just know it's done when it touches between 73 to 80 degrees Celsius. The chicken is really well rested, and I would advise all of you to just let it rest and cool down for some time, because even this rotisserie rod is extremely hot to handle when it comes out of the oven. Let it cool and then pull it out of the rod and cut the string. Just be sure to get all of the string off. I really like this recipe because, you know, it's a little Indian with all the masalas that I've put in, but not entirely. You'll find that it's a very simple marinade that comes together with just all the ingredients that you have lying around at home. So all the string is off. I'm going to place this lovely chicken on a bed of romaine lettuce. So guys, clearly it's not Christmas until I've worn this hat. Do you like it? I think it's quite cool. Anyways, you guys tuck into this very special family recipe of mine. I'm going to tuck into this chicken right now. Merry Christmas.
Hello my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Nick Saraf's Food Log. Today we're going to make an Italian delicacy. We're going to make the lasagna. So we're going to be making two sauces to go with the lasagna. The first sauce we're making is a Mornay sauce. A Mornay sauce is nothing but a bechamel sauce enriched with egg yolks and some grated Gruyere cheese. So let's start with first heating up some butter and flour in a saucepan to make a roux. Now we've heated up about 150 grams of butter with 150 grams of flour. Let it melt and come together. When there's a light boil, I pour in a liter of cold milk. And now I whisk this till it thickens. Make sure you keep whisking. Once it comes to a boil and it has thickened, bring the stove down to a low flame. Otherwise, milk everywhere. Not pretty. Now, if I was making bechamel sauce, or white sauce as some people like to call it for some reason, I would be done now. I would add salt, pepper, and a little bit of nutmeg, and be done. But to make a bechamel sauce or Mornay sauce, I'm going to add in it 2 whisked egg yolks. Make sure you immediately give them a good whisk, otherwise scrambled eggs in bechamel sauce. Not pretty again. Once the egg yolk is whisked in, we add grated Gruyere cheese, as much as you wish. 200 grams seems like a good amount though, for a liter of milk. Now we whisk it in, and we add some salt and crushed black pepper. You can alternatively add white pepper. Now that the sauce is done, let's keep it aside and start with the next one. Now let us make the marinara sauce. For this I'm going to put a pan on a medium to high flame and add in a good amount of olive oil. When the oil is heated up, add in a good amount of garlic, how much ever you wish. Cook the garlic in the oil, but make sure you don't color the garlic. Now we add in some chopped dry red chili and a few leaves of basil. Now before the garlic gets colored in the oil, we add in some tomato puree. When the sauce comes to a boil, you can add some more crushed red chili if you wish. If you, like me, love your spice. And a teaspoon of sweet paprika powder. Give it a good mix. Now we add some dry oregano. Give it a mix. Salt and crushed black pepper. Give it a mix. Finally, we add more basil. And with just a touch of some water. And now we let this boil for a minute or two. So the marinara sauce is done. I can take it off the flame and keep it aside. But since I want to make chicken lasagna, to the boiling marinara sauce, I will add some minced chicken. Cook it in the sauce itself. Now that the chicken is cooked, let's take it off the flame and keep it aside till we need to use it again. So now it's time for us to prepare the sheets of pasta for the lasagna. For this, I have boiled a good amount of water and I have salted the water. To this, I'm going to add a little bit of oil so that when we take the pasta out of the water, it doesn't stick and it's lubricated slightly by the oil. So let the water boil. When the water's come to a boil, we add in a sheet of lasagna at a time. Give the pasta a light stir so that it doesn't stick to each other. And let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes in boiling water. Now, since lasagna is cooked twice, one more time in the oven after this, we're going to cook our pasta al dente. So after 2-3 minutes, when it has softened but not turned completely opaque and soft, we take it out of the water and keep it on a plate. Now that the pasta is done cooking, let's immerse these sheets of lasagna in some cold water to stop the cooking completely, but make sure we drain the water completely before using it. Now let us start with the assembly for the lasagna. For this we need a glass or ceramic casserole dish. I'm going to butter this dish now. Spread just a touch of the Mornay sauce on the base. Now we put in the sheets of the lasagna. Make the first layer of some Mornay sauce. Sprinkle some grated mozzarella cheese. And now we put in the second layer of the lasagna sheets. Put in a layer of the chicken and marinara sauce. Sprinkle some mozzarella cheese. And now put in the next layer of the pasta. And repeat till you reach the top. When you reach the last layer, sprinkle some mozzarella cheese on top, a touch of white sauce, sprinkle on some breadcrumbs. This will give it a nice crispy texture on top. Now we've sprinkled on some more mozzarella cheese. And now we take this bellissimo piece of lasagna into the oven and bake it for 30 minutes at 190 degrees. And now we let this cool for about 10 minutes before we cut a piece. So there you have it, a pride of Italy, the bellissimo lasagna. Bon appétit! Hello my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Nick Saraf's Food Log. Today we're making an all-time favorite dessert, the gooey dark chocolate brownie with caramel sauce. So for making gooey dark chocolate brownies, we have with us 200 grams of butter and 200 grams of dark chocolate. Now I'm going to mix this together, and I shall keep this bowl on a bain-marie or water bath as it is commonly known. And now we wait for this to melt completely, stirring occasionally. Once all the chocolate and butter has melted, we take it off the heat and put the bowl on a piece of cloth, because it's wet, so you don't want to get the counter all wet and greasy. And now we add in 4 eggs, 1 egg at a time. Let's start with egg 1. Now goes in a tablespoon of vanilla essence. And we whisk. Now we add in about 360 grams of light brown sugar. Alternatively, you can also add caster sugar, that's white sugar if you wish, but I like light brown sugar in my brownie. Whisk the sugar in. Now we sieve in about 260 grams all-purpose flour. Followed by a teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of salt. Now we whisk everything together. And now I'm going to pour this mixture in a chilled buttered pan. We tap this on the surface to get rid of any air bubbles. Fun. And now we keep this in the fridge to chill for about 20 minutes. Now that this is chilled, it goes in the oven for 40 minutes at 160 degrees. As our brownie is cooking, we make the caramel sauce. To make caramel sauce, we pour sugar in a pan on a high flame. We spread it out and wait for it to melt. This can also be done with white caster sugar. Reduce the flame as it melts. At a safe distance, pour in cream. Immediately, mix the caramel and cream together. When it all comes together, we take it off the heat and mix in a little bit of butter. And to stop the sugar from cooking any further in the hot pan, we pour it into a container. And the caramel sauce is done. The brownie is done. Now we leave it to cool for 10 minutes before we cut it into pieces. So there you have it, gooey dark chocolate brownies with the salted caramel sauce. Enjoy!